Today, in our third installment of our special VOA series, The Freedom to Vote, correspondent Chris Simkins reports on the current political debate over the practice of intentionally creating voting jurisdiction or districts that favor a candidate or one political party over another.
These Latino voters have many milestones to celebrate, including their growing political influence in Texas. But Austin City Councilman Sabino Renteria remembers when Latinos across the state faced discriminatory voting practices 50 years ago.
Back then, you had to pay poll taxes to vote. And I remember going with my dad and voting for John F. Kennedy, and paying his $2.50. From then on, I always felt like, that was a right and we shouldn't have to pay for it.
5 decades later, the political landscape has changed. Renteria is among 3 Latinos serving on the Austin City Council. He was elected after the city did away with an at-large system that elected council members citywide.
Political observers say Austin's old election system made it difficult for Latinos to win a seat on the city council because they couldn't generate enough support from white voters in the rest of the city.
Now Austin voters fill the council seats from within districts that often separate wealthy white and low-income minority neighborhoods.
We won, and I was the first elected from my district.
Texans are used to voting jurisdictions whose boundaries twist and turn like the river flowing through downtown San Antonio. For decades, American lawmakers of both parties have drawn boundaries to gain partisan advantage in a practice known as gerrymandering.
We were going through the typical fighting over the maps that we see here.
Jim Henson, a political analyst at the University of Texas at Austin, says the history of one-party rule in Texas created bitter political fights over the distribution of voters.
For decades, the Democrats dominated that process, and you had Republicans feeling perpetually bullied in the redistricting process.
But now the tables have turned. There are several legal challenges to a redistricting plan adopted by the Republican-controlled legislature in 2011. The courts are trying to determine if the maps violated provisions of the Voting Rights Act designed to ensure minority representation. Texas Republican state lawmaker Larry Gonzalez defends a plan that's being challenged.
I think it's a wonderful thing when you can say that your racial minorities are diversified enough. They can be represented in every single part of Williamson County, that we could draw the lines, still meet the requirements of the Voting Rights Act.
Hey, London.
But Democratic Councilman Renteria says voters deserve to have nonpartisan citizen committees drawing political jurisdictions, not Republican lawmakers trying to obtain a partisan advantage.
They're going to probably draw their lines so that they will stay in power for the next 20 years or 30 years.
More state legislatures are looking at proposals of taking redistricting out of the hands of politicians. But not here in Texas, where state lawmakers seem determined to continue the practice of gerrymandering.
Have all members voted?
Chris Simkins, VOA News, Austin, Texas.